Welcome back to the Weight Room Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Before we get started, just want to remind you to subscribe wherever you're listening. Leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts as well as now on Spotify. You can leave a rating on Spotify now. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Do all that cool stuff. Really appreciate it. So the first thing I want to talk about, probably the biggest thing I want to talk about on today's podcast, is the fact that I did complete my Peloton 1,000 mile month goal. So I cycled 1,000 miles in the month of March. I planned on doing that in the month of April, actually, and just the way things played out. So February, I didn't really ride that much. I was a little, I wouldn't say injured or hurt, but I had some kind of nagging thing going on, and so I didn't want to push too hard and make that worse, whatever it was. So got better, rested up, got my legs, well rested, got my endurance system well rested, I guess. And so I figured, you know what, it's a good time to just go ahead and do this 1,000 miles now while I am well rested and while I still have those, positive effects of training with me from training hard previously in February, as well as, in the previous 7 or 8 months leading up to. So I went ahead, did the 1,000 miles in March. I had one extra day to do it versus doing it in April, so that was a benefit. Completed that goal. I learned quite a bit. Most of the things I learned were more reinforced things. So I think the first thing that comes to mind is that even when you don't feel like doing it, you just got to get up on the bike or get up on whatever and just do the work. It's as easy as that. And it's not always going to be when you feel like it. You might have to wake up early. You might have to stay up a little late. You might have to dedicate time to when you could be doing more, quote unquote fun things or more social things or whatever. But you take that time for yourself. You take that time for your goal because that's what's important. And it may not seem like it's as important in the moment, but once you get to the end, you're going to feel much better about yourself if you take that time for yourself and for your goal versus if you say, well, I need some time with my friends or I need some time with this other thing. If the other thing is that important, maybe you do, but if it's not, then just stick to what, you really want. Stick to what you should do, not what you feel like doing in the moment. I guess that's in reality the definition of discipline. When it comes down to it, that's the definition of what discipline is, doing what is best for you in the long term or best for the goal in the long term and not what feels best in the short term. It was consistency. It really was. It sounds weird, but it was one of the things especially in my fitness to where I stuck with it the longest. I'm not very good at sticking with things when it comes to my fitness, especially. I'll get distracted by another goal. I'll start something new up. I'll get bored with a workout program. I'll maybe have like a time where I'm not as focused on my fitness in general. There's a lot of things that have led me astray to when I had a goal that if I would have stuck with it, I could have seen amazing results. But this is really the first one to where I was like, I'm going to stick with this because it's all dependent on my effort. It's all dependent on whether I put in the work or not. So it was a lot different of a goal for me. It wasn't based on outcomes. It was based on actions. My actions decided if my feet pedaled that 30 miles for the day or that 20 miles for the day or 10 miles for the day. So I think that's kind of the goal that I often find the most rewarding for myself because I can almost completely control the outcome. Of course something might happen, but I can almost completely control the outcome of me achieving that 1,000 miles or me running the 26.2 miles or whatever, because it's based on will almost. It's based on determination, and I feel like I'm not special in that regard per se, but I feel like I have some strength in that regard in the way that the will, my will, whenever I'm really determined to get something is pretty strong, and I think that's one thing that is in my favor, where some things may not be as big for me. So comes down to the two things I talked about. I think it comes down to discipline and it comes down to consistency, and they're almost one and the same, really. They're almost one and the same. They can definitely be, weeded out from one another, but they're almost one and the same. So that's been a big thing, and I finally achieved that goal. That's that. Another thing is my strength training is also coming along pretty well. I've created a program. I've stuck to that program. I haven't been completely strict on not skipping any workouts or not missing any workouts, because I don't feel like I ever skip them as far as just simply not wanting to do them so I don't do them. I hate to use the word busy, but I'm doing something else. It's not like I'm not just not doing anything. I'm usually doing something related with work, with a podcast, or with some other aspect of a goal of mine. And it's not that my strength training isn't important, but it's just sometimes not as important in the moment as those other more time-sensitive things that I have to get done. So I do want to get better at that. I'd probably say I've missed 4 to 5 days of lifting this month, or last month rather, March. So that's about once a week. I want to get that down to maybe just missing obviously 0 is the best result, but 1 to 2 would be, much better. I mean, if you're missing one workout a week, that doesn't seem like a lot, but that's making a big difference over, 52 weeks. That's, you're missing a lot of workouts when it comes down to a whole year. I'm looking forward to the next month of lifting and continuing to get my strength back. I'm not really close to where I was on some of my lifts, but I am heading in the right direction. I'm on the right track, and that feels good. Another thing, tracking my calories. That was a big goal for me for March. I said I'm going to do it. I said, I'm going to start doing it because I wasn't very good at it in February. And I did start in March, but I didn't really stick with it. And that's the story of not succeeding, starting something and not sticking with it. So I know I have to do better. I'm going to start it back up. I can sit here and promise I'm going to do it for the rest of the month or the rest of the year, but when it comes down to it, I'm just going to say I'm going to do it today, and I'm going to do my best to do it every single day. So I know I need to do it. I know it's going to be helpful, especially in picking up strength and also in adding on some size that I want to add on. So that's going to be an ongoing battle for me until I really, really ingrain it back into my life, back into my routine, the way it was a few years back whenever I was, making real progress, making great progress. So I just have to do it. It has to become a routine. It has to become a habit. And until then, I'm going to struggle with it. It's just, it's a mind game, though. You just have to do it. You just have to get into saying, okay, this is the time frame. I'm going to do it before bed, or I'm going to do it as I go along. I just have to choose how I'm going to do it. But I want to do it. I really, really want to get back into tracking my calories. And then something new I've tried this month, something fun, something really cool, is a meal prep service called Zilla Meals. So if you're not familiar with them, go check them out on Instagram, ZILLA Meals. They're right here from Kentucky. I'm from Kentucky. They're not from Louisville, but they're from Kentucky, out of Kentucky. So I figured I'd show them some support. They're actually back on the podcast. I don't remember the exact episode, but not too far back now. So go check it out, Jordan Adams. I ordered a box of meats, veggies, and rice, and it's turned out to be a great addition to my routine. So it's made lunch super easy. It's very convenient having that pre-made meal, or pre-made food really ready to go. So it's it's helped me stay fueled and achieve my goals, and it's going to help me continue to do those things as we go along in the month of April. So I'm not sure what the long-term goal I'm going after next is, because I achieved my Peloton goal, and that was 7, 8, whatever long month goal. But I have been thinking about building my strength, like I've been talking about, to reach certain milestones, maybe building my physique, not necessarily going into bodybuilding, but maybe hiring a bodybuilding coach. And I've talked to a lot of bodybuilders and one in particular who I'm talking to about potentially coming on the podcast a lot more. So stay tuned for that. But maybe building my physique or maybe another endurance based goal. I've often thought about Ironman. I've thought about that kind of thing. So, we'll see what happens. I've done the biking aspect. I've done the running aspect, and I can swim. So maybe I'll try my hand at that one time. That's just a little bit of what I got going on, what I did in March, what I want to achieve here in April. That's it for me on this podcast. Thanks for tuning into the weight room. That was a hard one to get out. Thanks for tuning in to the weight room, episode 173. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening and leave the podcast a rating and a review on Apple Podcast and a rating on Spotify. That's it for me. Have a great one. I'll be back here on Monday.